If you're a sports fan, make sure you go check out SportsCastr for all of your sports needs. Whether you're a football fan, basketball fan, or baseball fan, this app is the perfect way to get news for your team and is an app I personally use myself in case any of you guys want to check out my pregame, halftime, or postgame streams. I'll leave a link in the description below. What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we are going to be talking about the winners and losers from the Patriots win over the Washington Redskins from this past Sunday, so let's hop right into it. Now, my first winner here is a guy that I'm so happy I can put in the winner column, and that is finally running back Sony Michel. Now, so far this season, Sony Michel has been a pretty forgotten piece in the Patriots offense, has not been able to get going in the run game by any means. If you're comparing his stats from this year and last year, he is nowhere near the statistical place that he was at the same time previously. He was almost a 1,000-yard rusher last season, and it looks like it will be very hard for him to be able to come back to those same stats this season, especially if he does not start carrying things back up. He was the Patriots' leading running back for this game, in which he saw the ball 16 times his way and finished 91 yards and a single touchdown. Now, he also finished with 5.7 yards per carry, which is a very, very good improvement from what he previously was with 2.9. That 5.7 per yards per carry range is definitely a big improvement and a good place going forward. Not only was he more effective in the running game, but we actually saw him catch his first pass here with the Patriots. He finally was getting more involved in the passing game. In fact, for a little bit, he was kind of taking over more of a James White role. We saw him a lot more in the passing game than we did see him contributing in the running game. All offseason, we had nothing but praise here for Sony Michel, both in the run game and the passing game. We heard how they're really trying to focus on the passing game with him, this offseason in training camp, OTAs, mini camp, but we had not seen any of that until this game. Interesting little fact here is that the New England Patriots are actually undefeated when Sony Michel has at least one touchdown in the game. This Patriots offensive line and all the struggles that they're having is definitely taking a toll here on the entire running game with the Patriots, but more specifically, Sony Michel. And the offensive line definitely had a poor game, the entire O-line, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But just the fact that he was able to finish with 91 yards was definitely a good improvement going his way. Now, of course, something to remember is that the Washington Redskins are ranked as one of the last teams in stopping the run, so it's not going to be so easy for the team going forward, as they will be facing a whole lot better teams, defensive linemen, and defenses than they did this past Sunday versus the Redskins. Now, speaking of the offensive line, we're going to move on to them as my first losers for this game. Now, really, everything was wrong here with this offensive line. The run game had issues getting going, especially here in the first half. The second half, they made a little bit of adjustments and were able to do a little better, but pass protection the entire game was just not there. Now, the Redskins do have a pretty good defensive line put together, but nonetheless, we will face teams that have a better D-line and will provide more pressure than the Redskins did. Tom Brady was visibly under pressure a lot. Okay, and I can't tell you how visible it was to watch him the entire game shaking, getting ready to throw a pass, but then not being able to, trying to shake off sacks, trying to really scramble throughout the pocket in order to move. Ultimately, just not having time to find his receivers, and because of that, he actually had an interception on the day because he was under duress. He threw the ball up, and because of that, he threw it into double coverage, and it got intercepted. A bad throw there by Tom Brady, but at the same time, when you're under constant duress, it's going to happen. In just the first half hour of the game, Brady was sacked 3 times. Okay, that was just in the first half hour. Now, again, the entire offensive line did not do well, especially as a unit, but it was more specifically both, or I should say all 3, of Marshall Newhouse, Marcus Cannon, and Ted Karras. Okay, Brady was just getting pressure everywhere. He was getting pressure from the side, and he was getting pressure up the middle. Really, because of that, where do we expect him to go? So here are some each individual stats from each player here on the offensive line. Marcus Cannon allowed 1 sack, 3 pressures, and 2 hurries. Marshall Newhouse let 2 sacks, 3 3 pressures, and 1 hurry. Shaq Mason let a quarterback hit, 1 pressure. Joe Thuney let 2 pressures and 2 hurries, while Ted Karras allowed 1 sack, 3 pressures, 2 hurries, and also had a flag. At this point, the offensive line is seriously starting to worry a lot of people, and it's very understandable. The offense is struggling for many different reasons, okay? You lack the depth at tight end. You are lacking the depth here at wide receiver that you once had, probably the best depth in the NFL. And your offensive line is not performing up to par, especially coming off of a season last year with one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. My next winner on this list is going to be wide receiver Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman, as we all know, has been dealing with an injury. We haven't really seen the real Julian Edelman in a little while, and it has worried a lot of people, but it definitely seems like we finally got that glimpse back of Jules in this past game. Jules has been dealing with a chest/rib injury that has really been sidelining him. For those of you who watched the game before the Washington game, then you probably noticed that Julian Edelman didn't exactly look himself, but this past Sunday, he probably had the best game of the year so far. He finished the day leading in receptions, no shock there, with 8 receptions and had 110 yards, while also having a touchdown. He was a key piece to really everything that the Patriots were doing, and of course it makes a lot of sense. Tom Brady was under duress most of the time. Who's he going to go to? A wide open guy that he trusts in Julian Edelman. Edelman was really great in the short passing game. He was good down the field. He was good in really every aspect of the game, and to put up 110 yards obviously showcases that. The next loser on my list is going to be tackling. It's not a single player. A lot of the defensive players struggle with this, but they finished the day as a defensive unit with 6 total missed tackles. 6. For the top defense in the league, you do not expect 6 missed tackles in one game. Of course, there was that long play there in the first quarter by Washington where they had that 60-some yard running touchdown, and even the commentators for that game just said, wow, I would not have expected that from the best defense in the league. That's a type of play that you do not allow when you are number 1 here in the league. Now, of course, no matter who you are, no matter what team you are, those plays are going to happen. You're always going to have a bad play now and then, miscommunication, but for all of these guys to have, their missed tackles, and again, it was a plethora of different guys. You had Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty, Michael Bennett, Jamie Collins, Adam Butler, just a plethora of different guys just not being able to secure tackles. Now, of course, despite them having issues with tackling, they still only allowed 1 touchdown, but nonetheless, that touchdown most likely would not be there if that tackling issue had not occurred. Now, my next winner here is going to be defensive tackle Danny Shelton, and Danny Shelton is just so underrated this season. He's a guy that I said the New England Patriots really need to re-sign, especially over guys like Malcolm Brown, and some people are coming at my neck for this. Even some other content creators didn't really believe and or agree with me on that, and it's exactly what happened, and it showcased that this is exactly what should have happened, and the Patriots made a great decision by doing so. Danny Shelton is really making the case for being the most improved Patriot this whole season. In fact, Danny Shelton is usually used as a run blocker, okay? Big body, big guy, really kind of serves his purpose there as a run blocker. Used to be a former first-round pick, has not lived up to expectations. Last year with the Patriots, his main purpose was for run blocking. In fact, there were games that he wouldn't even be active. He'd be a healthy scratch because it didn't go with their scheme. But now they actually have him playing more than Lawrence Guy. They have him lining up with pass rush defensive tackle Adam Butler on a lot of plays. They're using Danny Shelton now more in pass rush situations than they did in just that lone stopping the run situations. This past game, Danny Shelton showed even more that he has really improved this season as he recorded another sack. This time it was for a loss of 7 yards on the sack on Washington's quarterback, Colt McCoy. My next winner here on this list is going to be linebacker Dont'a Hightower. Now, Hightower hasn't necessarily looked too pro so far this season. He was also dealing with that shoulder injury, so he hasn't played every game so far this season, but this definitely had been his best game so far the entire season. He was terrific in really every phase of the defense, both in the passing game and in the running game, and of course is a leader for the entire defense and really helped set the tone for the game. He was very physical in this game, played really hands-on football today, or not today, but on Sunday, and ended the day with probably the best stats out of all defenders as he registered 1.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and almost had an interception, which, if we're going to be honest, really should have been an interception. New England's linebackers just continue to impress. They continue to make plays and they continue to shine, and it is really helping out the defense in a plethora of different ways. If Dante Hightower can keep playing the way that he played versus Washington, then the defense is going to just continue to get better, especially with the emergence of Jamie Collins and guys like Danny Shelton. Now, my next little winner here is going to be running back Brandon Bolden. Now, Brandon Bolden, of course, as we all know, he was a former Patriot, then the Patriots released him, he became a Miami Dolphin, the Miami Dolphins utilized him a little bit more than the New England Patriots did, and Brandon Bolden's a guy who I've always said the New England Patriots need to use him more than just on special teams, because when he is given the ability, both now and then in the regular season, but also in preseason, he always shows up. And I think somehow Bill Belichick heard me praising Brandon Bolden because so far this season, that's exactly what he's done. They used Brandon Bolden a lot so far this season, both as a running back, they used him in the backfield, they used him in blocking scenarios, and of course also have been using him in special teams. This past game though, Brandon Bolden showed us exactly why he's back, exactly why he needs to be utilized more, because he was given 5 rush attempts in which he had 13 yards. Now, of course, that's nothing too special there. He only had about 2.6 yards per attempt, which isn't anything special. But again, keep in mind that in the first half, no one was really doing that well, especially in the running game. But the big thing that's going to make him the little winner here on this list is the fact that he was targeted one time, going just a go route down the field, having that one reception for 29 yards and reeling in the touchdown. It was really a super cool flashback for anybody that knew that play, anybody that saw that play that Brandon Bolden made, that receiving touchdown versus the Washington Redskins. He actually made literally that exact same play against the Washington Redskins, the same team, back in 2015. Super cool thing to see. And I just love that Brandon Bolden is really being utilized more, having his second touchdown already on the season. Now, the last guy that I'm going to talk about here for this video is going to be a guy that really you could take either way, okay? Personally, I don't have a opinion really on if he should be a winner or a loser for this game, because really it could be taken either way. And that is going to be newly signed kicker Mike Nugent. Now, Nugent finished the game being 2 of 2 on field goals and 3 of 4 on the extra points. Now, of course, it was a pretty brutal start here for his first extra point here as a Patriot, really his first kick, as it was super wide to what I believe the right side. But yeah, it was not even close. And after that missed extra point, a lot of people started getting on him. A lot of memes started to go up about him. A lot of people thought that he was just going to get cut. But really, if you're going to look at how he did on the entire day, he really didn't do that bad. He actually did pretty well. Of course, having a missed field goal in general is never a good thing. You know, you cannot have just one of those every single game like it seems like the Patriots have so far every game this season. But for a guy who just joined the team a few days before the game, really not that bad. So you can take it really either way that you wish. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on my winners and losers? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you not have already. Make sure you guys share this video with everybody who knows the Patriots Global family. Other than that, I will catch you guys in another video.